Wow.
And I have forced the Bean to spend some time with us whilst recording the podcast.
She's still very interested in my beverages.
I mean, she always is interested in your beverages. She's shoved her entire face into the open glass of water.
Water.
If you will. Sam, it's been a while since I've seen you.
Yes, I've been gone for a week.
Yes. Have you enjoyed your trip? Sam has chosen to take a week-long vacation, followed up immediately by an extended weekend vacation, not a week later.
Yep. It was good. It was South Carolina, which, if you know anything about South Carolina,
I don't.
Is
I believe they're south of Carolina.
South of North Carolina.
Oh, is North Carolina north of Carolina?
It's north of South Carolina.
Well, that seems like a bit of a redundancy, but that's okay.
You know what? Blame the founding fathers.
I don't know if I'm going to do that.
Well,
actually.
Jester, stop. Guess my hand's going here.
She's just shoving her hand in your drink.
Yeah, took a vacation, went to the beach, saw some neat gators, got a tattoo.
A new tattoo.
A new tattoo.
Oh. Is this one on your butt?
No. None of mine are on my butt. I am not interested in getting getting stabbed in my butt repeatedly for a couple hours.
I mean, I'm sure someone's into that.
Yeah. We have a friend who's done it, who has 3 butt tattoos.
Oh, yeah. I always try and block that part out a little bit, if I'm being entirely honest.
Hey, you know.
Because I want to see my friends' tattoos, but I want to see my friends' tattoos.
Tattoos.
But at the same time, there are certain tattoos. It just doesn't feel right to ask.
You want to see his ass? You don't want to see his ass, but you want to see his tattoos.
I'm not saying I don't want to see his ass. I don't want to ask to see his ass.
He would love to show you his ass.
I'm sure. Oh, she's finally gotten snuggled up in her spot.
Very good. Very good.
This is ostensibly...
Yes, ostensibly a D&D podcast.
D&D podcast. I'm Connor.
And I am Sam.
We are the Dungeon Bros. But we are not brothers.
Nor are we in a dungeon.
We do have a cat.
She is in a dungeon of her own mind.
Sometimes. She was quite sad spending a lot of time alone here. And she'll be even more sad because we'll both be gone for Gen Con, which by the time this posts, if you're watching this the day it posts, we're gone like the next day.
Yes, we're leaving tomorrow. Unless you're watching it live, which we're leaving in 3 days.
Yes, of course. And this is going to be a quicker turnaround than our normal podcast. We usually record like 5 to 6 days in advance. So I have time to edit and post. But since you've been gone.
Yeah, let's not get canceled.
Since you've been gone.
Now the cat is messing with the pencil. Anyway, yes, since I've been gone, we haven't been able to record a podcast.
Yeah. Indeed. We do want to do some shout outs. I want to shout out our fellow TikTok creator, Typical Gemini. He came and had a chat with me. We talked about Magic the Gathering and D&D and all that kind of fun stuff for an hour. You can check out that bonus podcast, which aired last Wednesday as of the posting of this. And you can find that on YouTube and podcast services around the globe. I also want to shout out, I've made another YouTube video about Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter going up. Bean? If you're going to be like this, you're just not going to be on the table.
Do better.
You were so good for like a minute.
She has the attention span of a cat.
Which is apparently about a minute.
She found the quarters. Okay, anyway.
Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter. I go over the math and talk about this lovely concept called the threshold AC. It's a good time. Video's not doing too hot.
So if you're bored, go check it out.
It's a 4-minute watch. It's a 4-minute watch.
It's a great time.
Also, we've got our friends over at RPG Stories. They're making a 3D... I really hope the mics picked that up. Our friends over at RPG Stories are making a 3D virtual tabletop software that you can use to play D&D and other tabletop role-playing games. If you haven't seen any of their trailers, you can go find them on RPG Stories on YouTube, and it's really, really, really feature-rich, it seems. They're doing an alpha version of their software in the very near future, and we may or may not be partaking in it. We don't really do virtual tabletops very often. We did during the pandemic, but that was just out of necessity. But we're gonna give it a look-see for sure. And a final shout out to our friends Found Familiar Dice, who you can find them on TikTok and Instagram. And after many trials and tribulations with the wonder that is the United States Postal Service.
Yes.
They sent us over some amazing dice and stickers, and they are gorgeous and amazing. And Sam and I were fighting over because we wanted the same set.
Yes.
We got 2 sets, and we both wanted the same one. So we rolled off, and I won. I'm very proud of myself.
Yes.
Of course, you can find us on the TikTok, the YouTube, the Instagram, the Discord server. All of those links are in the link tree in the bio. This podcast will go live on YouTube, as well as Apple, Google, Spotify, microwave ovens, all of your other standard podcast listening services around the globe. And we have a free drive-through RPG homebrew every month. This coming month for August, we're going to go a little bit big to celebrate going to Gen Con, and we've got this lovely nature pack. Not nearly as big as our blood magic supplement.
No.
But it is quite sizable. We've got a druid subclass. We got a couple spells that are nature-y themed. Sam did a couple feat
And a magic
item. We worked together on the subclass, the Circle of the Seas Druid. Imagine a moon druid that is a little less combat focused, a little more utility, battlefield control, and you get a lot of wonderful benefits for the swimming speed beasts that the druid can wild shape into.
Speaking of druids.
Samuel.
Yes.
I don't remember what conversation led to me posing this question to you, but we immediately saved it for the podcast. The druid.
Yes, the druid, known class of D&D.
A known class of D&D. One of the main unique features of the druid is the wild shape where they can change into a beast. Mm-hmm. Now, if you are a druid in your humanoid form, say I'm a human druid.
Okay.
Connor, human druid. Hey, what's up? I, very notably, must require the toilet quite often.
You do have an excessive amount of bathroom breaks.
I enjoy a good poop. I enjoy a good poop. And I'm not afraid to say that I enjoy a good poop. Now, as the druid, if I needed to poop and then, combat breaks out, but I'm like literally full of shit.
As you are full of shit.
I'm colloquially full of shit, but literally full of shit in this instance. If you wild shape into, let's say, a bear, does the bear still need to shit? Does the shit magically just kind of disappear until you turn back into a humanoid form? Does it come back at all?
Yeah.
Or will you need to shit as the brown bear, the polar bear, whatever animal? Do you if you change into a squirrel, do you need to take like little baby poops and then you're back to a human and then you're big again? And
like, have you emptied your? Yes. The question is, if no one's around, does the bear shit in the woods? And it turns out that bear is a druid. When they revert, does the poop also revert back to the human poop?
Now, I think we need to establish if the druid, whilst wild shaping, would still need to poop.
That's a good question.
Because you take the wording of wild shape, you keep your mental statistics, your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, but you change your physical attributes to meet that of the beast that you're changing into. That includes the strength, dexterity, and constitution. Does constitution tie into your ability to hold in a shit?
Does it?
The
I
shit.
mean,
the
I guess
feeling
is that a sort of concentration check?
Ooh. Does a druid shit themselves if they need to take a shit in wild shape now? I didn't even think of that as an option, if I'm being entirely honest with you. I feel like logically, the shit just doesn't go away.
No.
When you change. Like, your body is changing physically it's not like the shit goes anywhere. The question... So I feel like if you change into your wild shape, you would still have to take a shit.
Probably.
In your wild shaped form. I think we can agree on that.
Yes, I believe so.
Now, the question is, does the process of changing into your animal thus change the nature of your shit? Do you go from having regular humanoid shits to now you have brown bear-sized shit? Now you have little squirrel-sized pellet shits?
Right?
Does that change?
Little deer bulbs?
Now, I feel like it has to change, because if you were to change into that of a squirrel, a cat, and you kept your human shit, you would immediately be bamped out of wild shape, because the shit would
explode your intestinal tract.
Exactly. So I feel like the shit has to change. Now we get into the final thread of this question. Now, if you were to change into a bear as a druid and you needed to shit, and then you took a shit in the woods as a bear, and now there's this giant pile of bear shit, when you change back, does the bear shit become human shit?
We don't know. That's a good question. Or like a bird gets rid of everything, all liquid, all solid when they go. Mm-hmm. And birds, known aerial bombers, often a trope in a movie or a TV show. So yeah, like if you were flying as a bird and you let one loose, and then as it was about to strike, you morph back into your human form. Did you suddenly just take a big deuce on somebody? Or they still just get splattered with bird shit?
Wow.
Because if so, I feel like druids cross the land do this as pranks. Like,
but is a druid now we're getting into a sidebar. Is the druid a prankster style class?
Well, I think
they got the tools at their disposal.
They do.
That's for sure.
And they're naturey things, and nature's very related to the Fae. Fae are tricksters.
Now,
not to extrapolate too far.
Now, I want to get mechanically deep into this.
Okay. Roll d20.
No.
Okay.
Now, there are other features and spells that change how you are physically.
Yes.
And then they have stipulations for things being worn or carried as well.
They morph into you or fall to the ground usually.
Using the example of, let's say, invisibility.
Okay.
You, along with everything you are holding and wearing, become invisible. If you then drop an object, the object doesn't stay invisible when it is not on your person. So following that kind of logic and the polymorph logic of things go into you, but you can choose what you keep and stuff, I do feel like once you take a shit as the brown bear, as it's like when it's still, like when it's like coming out, but it's still on you, it's bear shit, but before it even hits the ground, it's changed back into your humanoid shit. So with the example of the bird, I feel like it comes out liquidy and then changes into the human form immediately once it's been expelled from the body.
Airstrike.
And then drops. So I do think that a druid would be able to airstrike bomb with humanoid poop.
And then they're all cleared out now.
Now they're clear.
Shift back into human, and once they shift back into, they've
free and clear.
Don't even have to wipe.
Yeah. Well, oh fuck, do they need to wipe? Wow. I don't know if I'm ready to go this. We've talked for at least 7 minutes about poop at this point. I think we need to just stop and acknowledge, in my mind, and Sam, you may choose to disagree with this, but in my mind, the moment that you poop as your animal form, once it expels from your body, it changes into human poop, or elf poop, or dwarf poop, or whatever humanoid form poop you would have.
Right. That'd be really dangerous if you like polymorphed a giant. Just got like a fucking hill giant, known eaters of everything.
And they just change into a
like little bird, yeah.
They just dropping like 5-pound bombs on people. Wow. This
has been the Dungeon Bros. Wow. If you have any comments about wild shape fecal matter, please let us know in the comments.
Or just keep it to yourself. I respect that too.
Maybe
honestly.
Ask your mother.
Ask your mother. Wow.
So
hey mom, I got a question. You think a druid wild shaping into a brown bear and they took a shit, it would be human shit or bear shit? Be like, what the fuck's a druid? What are you talking about, child? What do you mean? You're speaking in nonsensical tones and limericks. I can't handle this right now.
Your mother kicks you out of her house. We're not going to adopt you.
You can file an application with the moon.
Yes. Remember, 2 to 3 business weeks. turnaround time.
I keep forgetting it's business weeks instead of business days. Oh wow.
So part of this thought came about because we watched recently the trailer for the D&D movie.
Now, before we get too deep into it, this is going to be a little bit different than the normal episode because when we looked for news items, it was just
not a lot.
It was just D&D movie, D&D movie, D&D movie, D&D movie, D&D, just all the way down. I didn't even see any news items talking about the Wonders of the Multiverse UA. So we're going to just talk about the movie, and then we're going to talk about the Wonders of the Multiverse UA. And I think that'll be adequate. We did mention on the last podcast, I believe, or no, it was the trailer wasn't out yet.
I don't remember.
I think we
Time
talked,
is a weird soup.
I think we talked to each other about
Possibly
the D&D movie,
and that's where we got the wild shape.
yes,
Because there's wild shaping in that movie.
there is wild shaping.
And
There
in the
is a tiefling druid who I'm kind of surprised. I'm happy that at least I'm not seeing it because I don't want to see it. But I'm kind of surprised there aren't more people that are upset that the now official movie representation of a tiefling is just a white girl with little baby horns.
Yeah, I mean, in again, I haven't seen a lot of the not backlash, not hate, just like the disgruntled nature of things that we've seen in this trailer. I've seen the people responding to the disgruntled nature, but
A lot of reacting to
reacting to the reactions.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the PHP, it does say tieflings are often humanoid, human skin color, or shades of red.
Yep.
And then the art is purple.
Yep. And then people make them blue and gray. Colloquially, I feel like the tiefling has taken on the skin tone of various vibrant colors.
Yes.
But that is how it's written in the PHP. Also, everyone, fucking calm down. It's fine.
Yeah. Do what you want.
It's fine. Very attractive actress. She looks the part of the druid. She's got horns. Let's just calm down.
Yes.
The other thing that people are very upset about is that this druid, at one point in the trailer, wild shapes into an owlbear. Now, the owlbear, very popular D&D monster. Very popular.
Very popular.
We've got our own little owlbear miniature up on the shelf.
Yes.
The owlbear, notably not a beast, and thus not eligible to be transformed into via the method of wild shaping.
As traditionally, as raw.
It is
rules as written.
It's classified as a monstrosity. Ultimately, it's fine. It's cool. Who gives a shit?
It's not like
It's fine.
It's not like specifically more powerful than anything else.
it's a
It's a CR3 creature.
yeah. It's fine.
It doesn't have any like weird abilities. It has a claw attack. It has a bite attack.
Yeah. I mean,
What makes it different from a brown bear besides the owl part of it?
exactly. What makes it different than an owl?
But the bear part of
The bear
it.
part of it. I feel like it's a lot more similar to a bear than an owl.
Yeah, I mean,
It's neither here nor there.
little column A, mostly column B.
So, what we know about the D&D movie, D&D Honor Among Thieves.
Yes. Hat.
It's going to come out in March 2023. Very excited. I think that's a good window for a movie like that to come out, that late winter, early spring. Not a lot's happening in that window usually.
We're well enough past the Christmas window but not yet into the summer releases.
Exactly. There's usually a lull there in movie going, and I think this will slot in quite nicely. Starring Chris Pine, Renee Jean Page, something like that. I don't know. The cast is good. We know that it's going to be taking place in the Forgotten Realms along the Sword Coast. We know that the bad guys are the Red Mage, Lich Society in the Forgotten Realms. We're also talking from a place of knowing the Forgotten Realms, kind of.
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, we've talked enough about different settings.
It appears that this adventuring party did a mission together to acquire a magic item for the Red Mages, and they learned, we really shouldn't have done that, and now they're trying to get it back, sort of a vibe. Chris Pine's the leader, the face of the party, the bard. I haven't really seen him casting spells, really.
Right, we see a little bit of him, and it's the jokes made that he plays the lute.
Yes. I'm interested to see the spells. We've seen versions of like Fireball. We've seen Shield. Various spells being cast, mostly by the mages, it seems.
Yeah.
There's two dragons that we've seen. One of them is in a cave system, a very large, fat dragon, which I believe is a reference to a character that is in one of the Forgotten Realms books. I can't remember if it's Waterdeep. I can't remember if it's Dragon Heist or somewhere on the Sword Coast. We also see an acid dragon.
Yes, black dragon flying in and spewing its acid breath.
Yes, it looks very similar. If you've seen the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, it seems like the CG quality is up to par with that, if not better. And I really like that they picked a dragon that didn't breathe fire. That's going to be a visual cue that dragons here are for people that don't know D&D. It's a very nice visual cue that not all dragons breathe fire in the D&D universe.
Yes,
if you will. So that's fun. There's so many small little subtle hints. A helm of is there a helm of blasting? Because it looks like it's a helm that's casting like thunder wave.
I think there might be a helm. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe a helm of brilliance or a helm of telepathy. I don't know.
Something. It looks like they're casting a thunder wave spell or shatter or something similar from a helmet. We mentioned fireball, the shield. There's a mimic.
There's a displacer beast.
The mimic. The freeze frame of the mimic, once it opens its mouth and then all of its teeth come out and then it starts to lash the tongue, is like, ugh. The detail on that is just chef's kiss, and also disgusting.
But yeah,
I've never thought of it like this, but the idea that the mimic in its chest form, it doesn't have legs, so it moves by lashing out the tongue, sticking to something, and then pulling it toward.
Yeah,
that makes total sense. That's awesome. Do we know specifically what classes the party of the movie is? Obviously, we know the bard. We know the druid.
I believe there's a barbarian.
The woman is a barbarian.
We did not do our research on names.
The man, I feel like, is either a paladin or a rogue.
You think so? I was going to guess sorcerer based on how he looked.
Sorcerer, because I've seen him holding a sword as well as like throwing like a dagger thing.
Maybe.
So I'm not entirely sure on that. They may have announced it. This trailer, along with many, many panels, came out during San Diego Comic-Con this recent weekend. We haven't had a chance to look through all of it because it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And Sam's been gone for a week.
I have. Ooh, let's see. Well, there's screen. I'm just. Go away, Dad. Hold on. I have ad blocker on. Anyway, I was going to look it up, but Screen Rant doesn't like my ad blocker. All right. Yeah. So it doesn't matter anymore.
We see them in a coliseum of some kind, partaking in battles, fighting a displacer beast.
Jumping into a gelatinous cube.
Dodge. That is an interesting combat decision that they've chosen to make.
Really is.
I'd love to see how it plays out for them. You can see a dissolved humanoid form inside the gelatinous cube when they jump into it. I feel like I would rather be hit by the displacer beast personally.
Well, but besides all of this, just like straight up, okay, we're taking a thing from D&D and putting it into a movie. I think what you and I are kind of happy to see is that they're not just making this a Lord of the Rings style, like we are in this universe and serious.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of razzing between the characters.
There has been some complaints. I've seen online people complaining that it's very Marvel in the sense that it's like there's a lot. It's quippy and it's. At the end of the day, if you're making a proper D&D movie, you need to play the movie as you would playing a D&D game.
Oh yeah.
And unless the goal is like, unless you're playing like EXU Calamity, where the whole point is it's very serious, it's very dark, you need to be in this. And even then, even in EXU Calamity, they laughed like every episode and there was still a stupid bit or something that Sam did or whatever.
Yeah.
And
that's the great thing about D&D is we're not there to play a game of great acting. We're not there to read off a script. We're supposed to be friends getting around a table and doing goofy things.
Now, Critical Role is scripted, Sam.
Oh, yes.
You know this.
Yes. We figured this. All the people out there figured it out long ago.
That it is very scripted.
Yeah.
They have them right in front of them, and it's too perfect. It wouldn't
See them scrolling on their iPads, totally not looking up
not
how to grapple.
Looking up the rules for grappling, or Ashley being like, "How does Mister work?" I want Mister to throw his flaming poop. All right, what's his? All right, roll to attack. All right, where is he? Where's Mister? Okay, I've played this character for almost 30 episodes now. Where's Mister? Where's Mister? Okay,
but you know what? If people are upset that that this has a good film quality, this definitely seems like a modern style film, a well thought out and filmed modern style or recorded modern style film. And if they don't like that it's quippy, because Marvel figured out a long time ago that people liked the little jokes in their movies,
that people like to have fun when they go to a movie,
right? And also the fact that it's supposed to be representative of these superheroes. These superheroes probably aren't just being serious the whole time.
Very serious.
It's Iron Man. He's very serious. Anyway.
All right, Iron Man, flick me, says Ant-Man as he sticks his butt up to be flicked onto Captain America. Come on.
You flicked too hard, damn it!
Thor: Love and Thunder. It's fine.
More flicking references.
Above the average for a Marvel film, I would say.
Enjoyable.
Very enjoyable.
Natalie Portman. Strong Natalie Portman.
Raising an army of children.
Weird.
You do you, Thor. That's fine. Weaponize the kids. That's cool.
Weaponize the children.
Getting out of the sidebar within a sidebar.
Yes.
D&D Movie, March 2023. We're both going to be seeing it and probably doing an entire episode of the podcast on it.
Yes.
We are happy that they're taking it serious enough to put in the production quality, to put in the writing, to get the actors that are going to care about it, and Hugh Grant is in it as well.
Yes.
Which I believe he's I think he's one of the Waterdeep or Sword Coast politician, one of the people in charge kind of things, a side character. But it's clear that they're taking this movie seriously enough that it's going to at least not be bad.
Right.
They're putting enough resources into it. The people that have been making it, that are acting in it, have talked about their experiences with D&D. Some of the actors didn't know anything about D&D before they took this role, but have since started to like it and plan to play it in the future again. I think it is representative of what D&D is in many ways. I'm glad that they chose the Forgotten Realms. That's classic quintessential D&D setting. Mm-hmm. If you want your serious, gritty D&D, there's Game of Thrones, there's Lord of the Rings, there's the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power coming out soon. There's fucking House of Dragons. There's Vikings. There's any number of fantasy settings that take themselves seriously that you can watch. This is what D&D is.
Here's the thing about you can take any movie that you really want and look at it like, oh, this was somebody's D&D game, and you can add and you can be like, that's the shield. You can flavor it however you want, and I think that people will need to. A lot of people will need to accept that just because this movie isn't the way that they play D&D doesn't mean this is going to be a bad movie.
Yeah, I in fact think it is going to be a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Not willing to say it's going to be great or change the fabric of cinema
or D&D.
In fact, I don't think any movie could change the very fabric and nature of D&D.
It's true.
But I think it's going to get more people interested in the hobby. I think that is only going to be good. I think we've talked about this before. Bob the World Builder on YouTube has done wonderful videos, and he's shown Google Trends for D&D and how they always spike with Stranger Things. I think the D&D movie is going to be another big spike for D&D in general.
Bring some new people into the fold.
Yep. And that's always good.
Always good.
And by the time that movie comes out and they're getting into the hobby, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that they can do. I wouldn't be surprised if they start releasing some free content on D&D Beyond around the Forgotten Realms that kind of ties into some of the things going on in the movie.
Stat blocks, especially from any of the characters.
Villains. Maybe a monster compendium for red mage enemies, and that kind of stuff. We'll see. That's all speculative at this point.
And we will continue to speculate. You can't stop us.
Oh, I'm a spectacle late all over this place.
You're going to spectaculate.
Spectacular.
So we agree that no movie will change the fabric of D&D. Segues are nice. But you know what will change the fabric of D&D? Fabric. In this case,
digital tree paper with words on them.
Those words being wonders of the multiverse.
Yes, they have released yet another Unearthed Arcana. We recently had the Giants Unearthed Arcana, and there's some changes to some of the giant things in this one. This one is Wonders of the Multiverse. And we are a bit perplexed, just off the top, what this UA is playtesting for.
Yeah, because it can't be playtesting for anything in Spelljammer, because that comes out in 2 weeks.
Yes, and there's a lot of by the time this came out, the books for Spelljammer were already printing. Like on production time to physically create the product, it already had to have been finalized long before this. So I'm interested where this is going to play into. Obviously, it seems like they're leaning more into how they want to change backgrounds and feat assignments for the eventual 5.5 that we're going to get in the coming years.
Which, if we want to talk about, like, maybe they're actually listening in community, because a huge amount of the community goes, we don't have enough opportunity for feats.
Exactly.
Raw.
Rules as written. Now, at our tables, at most tables that we play at, the level 1 feat is very common. The training and downtime to acquire certain feats is a common. I think my wizard Lucian hasn't taken a feat as an ASI, and he has like 2 or 3 feats.
Yeah.
So it's kind of how it is. And I'm a big fan of the level 1 feat. Now, before we get into the feats section, the feats are only a part of this. This includes a new race, the Glitchling, a new subclass for the Cleric, the Fate domain, several backgrounds. One of them is a rework, or one or two of them. 2 of them are reworks of the giant UA backgrounds, a plethora of feats, as well as some spells around the magic of fate and playing into like a deck of many things, card-based style magic. We're not going to go feature by feature and talk about like the details of everything in the nitty gritty. There's plenty of great YouTubers out there that have already done in-depth breakdowns from the perspective of power gamers to casual people that are just into the UAs and et cetera and so on. But the Glitchling is a being created by the forces of planar law. Specifically, they call out the plane of Mechanus, for lawful planes, and there's other various planes that they can come from. But the Glitchling, many people are asking why the Glitchling isn't just a Modron race. I've seen that on many a YouTube video. You can flavor it however you want, obviously. It is a construct. It is the first race that's actually truly a construct, because I do believe that the Warforged is still considered a humanoid. And not a construct.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Medium creature, 30-foot walking speed, armor plating to buff your AC, balanced chaos, which is kind of like a minimum roll mechanic that for example, the rogue later on gets
reliable talent.
The reliable talent where you can't roll below a 10. This is kind of similar to that. You get it a certain number of times. Living construct. It basically is like you are a construct, but you can still take healing spells.
Yeah, it's a footnote. It could have been a footnote that says, "Hey, don't don't be a dick to your players if they decide to play this.
Yep. Advantage against being charmed, and you get wings that you can use to fly that are equal to your walking speed. It's limited. Very interesting. It's kind of Warforged, but a little different. Definitely a much different flavor. I mean, more races, more better. I like that it's actually a construct.
Yeah.
And then they actually add in a feature like, yes, you can still take the benefit of healing spells. Now, it doesn't say healing spells. It calls out specific healing spells. Cure wounds, healing word, mass cure wounds, mass healing word, and spare the dying. So your healing spirit isn't going to do anything. Notably, it doesn't call out revivify. It doesn't call out reincarnation. It doesn't call out raise dead or true resurrection, any of that. So that could be a bit challenging to overcome. Obviously, it's very difficult to die in D&D right now.
Yes, I mean, unless you're playing a super hardcore, gritty idea of a campaign, a Dungeon of the Mad Mage sort of thing, where the point is to kill the characters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with this, the glitchling.
I find it interesting that they've been winding back the whole fly speed thing with the changes that they've been making to races, specifically in Monsters of the Multiverse.
Took away a lot of 50-foot fly speeds, but brought them down to your walking speed.
So it's interesting that they just are like, yeah, you get fly speed equal to your walking speed. It's only until the end of your turn.
And it's only a number of times per day equal to your proficiency bonus.
Yes. But seeing as they're trying to move away from flying speed at level 1 kind of a thing, it seems like, or at least toning it back. It's weird that I find it interesting that they would include it in the first place. And the whole vestigial mechanical wings thing is even more like a Modron.
Yeah.
Modron, whatever you want to call it. We don't really have a whole lot to say. They get interesting quirks that you can roll on a table. It's another race.
And I was going to say, and a lot of the new races we've seen here recently include a quirk table, basically, or a trinket table or something like that. Yeah.
I will say, with the addition of these new races, I look forward to them revamping some of the classic races. A lot of these make the half-elf features look a little lax. They make even the elf features a little bit lax, unless you get into the newer sub-races, the sea elf, paladin elf from Wildmount, that kind of stuff.
It's one of those things where I wonder, I don't think it'll happen for 5.5, but maybe 6th edition, where if they'll, for like races or ancestries, whatever you want to call them at that point, whether it'll be just like, all right, you choose your creature type, like construct, humanoid, whatever, and then you just have a set of features, like, all right, you get to choose one of these 6 features, a random D6 table, and be like, all right, now just like, anything else, it's super customizable. I could see that happening in a couple years, but for now,
it's fine.
All right, moving on to the cleric subclass, the Fate Domain. It gives you some options of Fate Domain deities based on different backgrounds: Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, Dragonlance, or Elven.
Just Elven.
Just Elven.
The spell list is fine.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. I mean, Dissonant Whispers is a great spell. Warding Bond is fine. Beacon of Hope is fine. Death Ward is fine. Like all these spells are fine or very
specific. Yeah.
To be fair, the cleric also has probably the best spell list in the game.
True.
So,
I mean, clerics just in general are very easy, very powerful casters in general.
Yeah. They're level 1 features. You get kind of like a Divination Wizard light thing. You can cast Augury once per day for free without using a spell slot. And you also get a reduced percentage chance that something's going to go wrong with spells like Augury, Commune, and Divination.
I find that interesting because I haven't played with that many people, to be fair, but I've seen a lot online, and some of these spells aren't the best. But also, I don't know who's casting them so many times a day that they're actually going to run into the more than one time a day.
I don't know if you've been rolling behind the screen, but for my Divination Wizard, when I've ritually cast Augury maybe 3 times, I don't recall any roll being had for whether or not it's accurate. You just tell me the wheel.
I think it's
woe.
after. Isn't it after the first time the first time a day you get it for you basically get the
Okay.
correct. And I don't think you've ever cast it more than once a day.
And there's no real reason. Like, augury is neat, but it's really limited. If it weren't a ritual, it would be near useless.
Oh, absolutely.
But they get another level 1 feature where you can bond yourself to an object or a creature, tie yourself for 1 hour.
Add an extra d6 to either deal damage if it's an opponent or restore hit points if it's a friend.
It's kind of like Bane and Bless tied into one single target, and then just a little bit bigger on the die size with a couple extra. It's a nice feature.
Yeah, as we go, that's kind of the theme as we go forward with these features. Some of these features is they're like Bane or Bless Light. It's buff or debuff light class. Like, it's very hard to be a buff or debuff caster in D&D because they're all buffs and debuffs are pretty much concentration spells.
It does.
And it really, really limits what you can do in combat. There's plenty you can prep with, but do in combat is another thing entirely.
Yeah, the tying of this feature to the use of the action as well makes this you need to set this up beforehand or you're not going to be able to. Now, this could go well if you say threw out like a spiritual weapon as a bonus action spell and then used this to bind yourself to someone. That would be fine. Or vice versa in your order, but it being used as an action very much limits what you are capable of doing on a first turn in combat if you didn't prep this ahead of time.
Yes.
But since it lasts an hour, you certainly can.
Sure.
The level 2 feature, the Channel Divinity Strands of Fate.
It's kind of like almost a Silvery Barb's Light. It allows you to, as a reaction, using your Channel Divinity, give a attack roll or an ability check. Not a saving throw,
but
a disadvantage or advantage, your choice.
I'm sick and tired of features requiring concentration.
Yeah, it requires concentration.
The revised Ranger that they put in Tasha's with the variant features, the favored foe would straight up replace favored enemy if it just didn't require concentration. There's so many things that require concentration that shouldn't.
Yeah. And this being, yes, you have to use your reaction already, so you can only do it once per round. To give one thing you can see disadvantage, and you're concentrating on this for a minute. So that reduces, if you want to, you can't use actual silvery barbs. You can't use shield, or not shield. Anyway,
you can't.
Shield, because you're using a reaction for this. Sorry,
you also have to be concentrating on this, and thus that locks you out of so many amazing cleric spells that would be so much more impactful in combat. Your Spirit Guardians. One of the best spells in the game is a 2nd level concentration spell, and it very much should be a concentration spell because of how good it is. But now you have to choose between setting up a giant AoE around you that slows and damages enemies that try to get close to you and your allies, or I can concentrate for a minute to help out one person with some rolls. It's not a fair trade.
No.
I think I'm tired of these class features requiring the use of concentration. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Especially because the class features aren't that great most of the time. Like favored foe is a D4 hunter's mark without tracking.
Yes.
Like it doesn't need to be concentrated on. Next, we have Insightful Striking at 6th level. It is a bonus action, 30 feet. Again, adding more to rolls for attack rolls against a target. Have to make a saving throw. You can reduce with a d6. You get it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus modifier. This is basically I want to attack them, or I want to have them make a saving throw, so I'm going to use this as a bonus action to make it more effective.
Yeah. And I think that's good.
I think that's perfectly good. I like that it's a bonus action. I like that it's limited to 30 feet, so you're not going to be slinging something across the battlefield. You still got to get yourself up into combat. Doesn't require concentration. The D6, I feel like, is the right size die for that level. Like, this is probably my favorite ability.
I think I would agree with that.
I think it is the most balanced. I think it is the most useful. This one, stay as is.
Stay as is. Moving on.
8th level, potent spell casting. Add your wisdom modifier to damage with any cleric cantrip.
Pretty standard cleric fare.
Totally fine. And then last,
Number 17, Vision of the Future. You basically get to cast the Foresight spell once a day without expending a spell slot, but the duration is 1 minute on the casting.
fine, cool. Foresight spell is a great spell.
9th level spell.
Yep. At that point, this feature is a bit lacking. But again, at 17th level, you're getting a free casting of a 9th level spell without a spell slot. Sure, you can't cast it in the midst of combat, but Foresight isn't a spell that you're usually casting in combat anyway. How long is the duration?
I believe it's 24 hours. Let me
Oh, the duration is 1 minute
this.
for that casting. So they're making Foresight a combat-oriented spell with this.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, neither here nor there.
It's definitely helpful, but it's not.
You're
You're saving
getting
a 9th level spell slot, basically.
Yeah, you're basically getting an extra 9th level spell slot, which is amazing. So really, the back end of this subclass, I feel like, is more than fine.
Yeah.
It's the channel divinity, and those first level features are just like, what are we doing here?
Right.
A lot of the wording, the requiring of concentration, it feels like they saw the reaction to the Twilight Cleric about how super overpowered that was, and then they overcorrected in the opposite direction to now we're getting a somewhat underpowered cleric. Which is ironic because it's very difficult to make an underpowered cleric in general. The spell list and the regular features they get are just that good.
Yeah. So maybe not an underpowered cleric, just something that you wouldn't necessarily have that much fun playing subclass wise.
Yeah. Next up, we've got the backgrounds, and right out of the gate, the first thing they talk about is bonus feats. We've talked about tying in feats to backgrounds for a long time. We are big fans of the level 1 feat, tying them into your background instead of those kind of throwaway flavor feats that you get with regular backgrounds is great. They list off the Scion of Elemental Air, Earth, Fire, Water, as well as Skilled and Tough as examples that they're using. The backgrounds are the Gate Warden, the Giant Foundling, the Planar Philosopher, and the Rune Carver. And all of these, their feature is simply you gain insert feat presented later in this chapter. Mm-hmm. And all of those feats are like the preliminary version of that feat that is a prerequisite for a feat later that you get at 4th level. And we'll get into a little bit of that later. But the Gate Warden is like you're a guardian of planar portals, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Giant Foundling, you were found by giants or whatever.
Yep. Planar Philosopher, you are studying of the planes. And then the Rune Carver is
another giant you learn to carve runes as the Rune Carver and Giant Foundling we saw in the Giant UA.
Yes.
These are slightly different, but not that much.
Not that much. I mean, they're backgrounds. There's only so much you can get. Now, the bulk of this UA is dedicated to the feats, which we'll get to now. There are
a lot.
I'm just gonna read them all off real quick. Rune Carver Apprentice, Scion of Elemental Air, Scion of Elemental Earth, Scion of Elemental Fire, Scion of Elemental Water, Scion of the Outer Planes, Strike of the Giants, Agent of Order, Baleful Scion, Cartomancer, Cohort of Chaos, Ember of the Fire Giant, Fury of the Frost Giant, Guile of the Cloud Giant, Keenness of the Stone Giant, Outland's Envoy, Planar Wanderer, Righteous Heritor, Rune Carver Adept, Soul of the Storm Giant, and Vigor of the Hill Giant. Now, a lot of those sound very familiar.
They do.
It's almost like they reprinted all of the giant stuff and they tweaked them a lot.
They did, yeah, so.
A lot of these feats have level prerequisites. A lot of these feats are requiring
the prior feat.
A prerequisite feat of some kind. Before we get into the specifics of these feats, and we're not going to read through every single detailed feature. When it comes to the background feats, I would much prefer that these go the way of how they're moving in with racial feats at the moment, where a lot of them get bonus spell casting of some kind. For example, I've been making a Pallet Elf Ranger right now, and the Pallet Elf, the Blessings of the Moonweaver, they learn the Light Cantrip. At level 3, they learn Sleep and can cast it once a day. At level 5, they learn Invisibility and can cast it once per day. with these background feats, give them the introductory feat when they take the background. And instead of making them take it at level 4 or later instead of an ASI, because the big problem that we have with a lot of these feats is you need to choose. Am I going to increase my most important ASI, which is mathematically going to be the most advantageous over time, or am I going to take a feat? And that is always an opportunity cost no matter what you take.
Even if you're doing the half ASI ones, it's still, do I want the cool thing or do I want the ability up? And especially if you're supposed to be a hero in the game, you probably want to be the best at what you're doing.
Exactly.
If not because of story-wise, just because gameplay, that's more fun.
And spellcasters in particular.
Oh yeah.
With martial characters, the +1, the +2, the +3 weapon are like, that's very easy to come by. Most tables you're going to get some version of an upgraded weapon. As a spellcaster, increasing your spell attack modifier and your spell save DC are very, very difficult.
Paramount.
They're very important and they're very difficult to increase. Wizards has done a lot to limit the magic items that increase spell save DC and spell attack modifiers. Usually magic items only have one or the other, or the bonus is just a +1. It's not very common you find a +2 or a +3 bonus to spell attack and spell save DC. So once you start getting into spell save DCs of like, the difference between a spell save DC of 18 and 19 and 20 and 21 is a much bigger difference and a much bigger buff in your power than an attack roll modifier going from a 9 to an 11.
Right.
Or a 9 to a 12. You know? With that being said, a lot of these prerequisite feats, I personally think the future version that you can get, and I think there's a couple of options depending on your prerequisite feat. A lot of those later options are half feats where you get a +1 to an ASI and then a feature. Get rid of the +1 to your ASI, and then when you reach a level, you just get that. Much like how the racial feats, at a certain level, you just get another spell. So your backgrounds, much like your character, are growing and expanding and influencing you as you progress through the game.
Yeah, because especially after as base 5th edition, once you have your background, and sure, when you go to a city you can get free lodging, or when you go you can get a free boat transport, but that's not going to help you very much. As we were talking earlier before we started recording, doing that is both of us think a great way to do it. Unfortunately, with the way a lot of current feats are, it would almost eliminate those, or if the Wizards wanted to change them, like let's say Sharpshooter, Great Weapon Master, you touch those, you're gonna have a lot of angry people because those are really great feats base, and if you wanted to kind of have this evolving sort of idea, it'd be very hard to change those and get them into that sort of meta.
Exactly. There's a lot of feats that should not be touched. I think that rather than, all right, the only way you get a feat is you have to give up an ASI for it, or the only way you can get a feat is by picking the right background and leveling it up as you level up. Why not have both?
True.
You can have both. You can have your feats that are dedicated that you have to take instead of an ASI, your Sharpshooter, your Great Weapon Master, Tough, Warcaster, etc., and so on, a Magic Initiate, that kind of shit. And then you have feats that are going to grow with you as your background. And I would even say there are some feats that you could probably pick to take in lieu of that progression. So instead of taking, let's just say, for example, the Runecarver Apprentice and then later Runecarver Adept, it would grow into in this hypothetical situation. Instead of that, maybe your background can let you choose to just take Magic Initiate. Maybe instead of more of the physical based ones that grow, you can instead choose Tough or Skilled. Or they even listed those options out under the backgrounds, Tough and Skilled specifically, of options that can be taken with backgrounds. Now, should any feat be available to any background? No. I don't think that.
If we want to keep some sort of like order of reason to play certain backgrounds or reason to have a difference among the reason you play a wizard versus the reason you play a bard. Exactly. That sort of idea.
Exactly. We're not going to get into the details of these. If you have any particular one that you want to call out, a lot of these are related to the planes, various elemental planes, outer planes, that kind of stuff. A lot of them are just slight changes to the giant feats that we got from the last Unearthed Arcana, so we're not going to go over that. I do want to bring up the Cartomancer. Using a deck of cards as your spellcasting focus, and then you can get additional D4 as a bonus to damage of spells that you use cast. You get a limited number of those. You get card tricks, so you learn prestidigitation, and you can use it to create illusions and stage magic and stuff. And then the hidden ace, you can choose a spell and imbue it into a card. The interesting thing about that, they probably need to change the wording of it, because you could theoretically imbue an entire deck of 52 cards with spells and just not use them, because they don't expire until you use them.
Yep.
So maybe limit it to 24 hours. But that's kind of like a mini ring of spell storing.
Yeah.
All of that is flavorful and cool, and it ties into the spells that we'll get to here shortly that are entirely based upon cartomancy.
But again, it's a prereq 4th level, and you have to be sorcerer, warlock, or wizard.
Bard?
Yeah.
That's quintessential bard. Why is it not an option for a bard?
And then again, is basically a ring of spell storing and a little bit extra D4 damage worth your ASI.
Mm-hmm. Also, the whole prerequisite of 4th level thing that isn't for feats that scale, that are meant to be taken in sequence. Why are we doing that?
I will say I want to put, I was looking at the giant UA just before this. I want to point just to... so before, the giant ones just had prerequisites of levels. Now you have to, I put that in air quotes for those of you who are on the podcast services around the globe. You have to take the Strike of the Giants as your first level. And then it was, I think, 3 4th level to 8th level. They're all now 4th level. And most of them are pretty similar. One of the big ones I did notice that they changed was the keenness of the Storm Giant. Before, it was you got a free spell. I don't remember what. It might have been Blur. But now you have a weird sort of magic stone ability where you can take a rock and chuck it for 1d10 damage plus some stuff per day.
Mini catapult. Kind of. They also...
Don't know if it's worth a 4th level.
They also revamped Runecarver Apprentice and Runecarver Adept. They very much limited the spells list that you can get as Runecarver Apprentice. I think the spells are not that great. There are some standout ones: Ray of Sickness, Disguise Self, Entangle, Chromatic Orb. Those are fine. But the limitation on the spells that you can get access to with this feat is a big nerf. And then the Runecarver Adept, you basically just get additional types of runes that are non-spell related. The battle runes, the healing runes, and the runic winds that just... the battle runes give you or another creature advantage on their next attack roll. Healing gives temporary hit points. The runic winds... basically just increase movement, and the creature doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Those are also half feats as well. Mm-hmm. Now, the Runecarver Apprentice, you also just naturally learn Comprehend Language, which is just a nice spell. You can cast it without a spell slot, and you get 2 rune choices from this rune spells list, and you can change those out when you take a long rest.
Yes.
If you want to look into the details of all of the various elemental planes, along with the outer planes and the giants, it is free on dnd.wizards.com, and you can grab it yourself.
Now, the spells. Spells were something we were very interested in talking about. They gave us 5 new spells based upon the Deck of Many Things.
Yes.
And this cartomancy feat idea as well.
2 summoning spells: Summon Warrior Spirit and Summon Spirit of Death. Spirit of Death, which does summon a creature. House of Cards, Antagonize, and Spray of Cards. Overall, before we get into them, a lot of these spells are not that great, and are outclassed by spells that already exist in published works. They're very thematic and fun, but if you end up taking them, generally, you would probably be better off reflavoring a spell that already exists mechanically if you're a power gamer. I'm not necessarily a power gamer. One of my favorite spells on the Ranger spell list is Cordon of Arrows. I always take Cordon of Arrows. Cordon of Arrows, not a very good spell, but it's cool.
It's cool. It's fun.
I like it. So, alphabetical order. Antagonize is 3rd level enchantment spell. Action, 30 feet. Target makes a wisdom saving throw. They take 44 psychic. Must use their reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice. Increase damage when you upcast. That one, I think, is probably one of the better ones.
I was going to say, I think that one, for player abilities and spells, this is one that kind of reaches into a more unique area. There's not a lot that are like, that allow the players to force an enemy to make an attack.
It forces, not only that, it forces the enemy to use their reaction. Now, at a 3rd level, 4d4 is paltry damage.
Yeah.
And the effect, while potent, I think this would be better as a 2nd level spell. If it were a 2nd level spell, this would be a very, very good spell.
Yeah.
And I'm totally happy with that design as is. If they succeed, it doesn't even make a stipulation if they succeed. I assume it just doesn't
happen.
Save or suck spell.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see some half damage on that, but that's fine.
And if no creature is within range of their attack, the target has disadvantage on their next attack roll it makes before the start of your next turn.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Next, House of Cards, 3rd level conjuration. It lasts for 24 hours, has a casting time of a minute.
Yep.
This is a setup thing.
This is a
lesser
mansion.
A lesser the bubble.
Oh, hut. Lehman's Tiny Hut.
It is a lesser Lehman's Tiny Hut. It's a 5 foot wide, 10 feet tall, very fragile. It has 1 hit point, an AC of 10. I mean,
it's not really sure why. It's not even. There's no.
It's a 3rd level spell. Just wait a level, get Lehman's Tiny Hut, and Lehman's Tiny Hut is immune to all damage.
Yep, and this is not even a ritual spell, so you have to waste your spell slot.
And I mean, it's bigger. You get 3 floors, 30 feet. It gets smaller as it goes up, but it's just.
And it's not like it. Sure, if you want to build a little fortress, this is kind of like you build a little fortress. Maybe if you're preparing, but each card has an AC of 10 and 1 hit point, so they're not that hard to hit. They're not that hard to destroy.
And that's each individual card.
Yeah.
And when a card is destroyed, you have to roll a d6. If you roll a 5 or a 6, the entire house collapses. So
why would I waste my spell slot spell selection?
Let me put it this way. With bad luck, a commoner can walk up and very easily punch a card and the whole thing comes tumbling down. This is just bad. I don't even think it currently as written, like it would need an entire rework.
Yes, again,
top to bottom.
Again, why would I waste my spell selection? Why would I waste my spell slot on this? It's a 3rd level. At fifth level character, I don't know why I would cast this.
Me neither. Next we have Spirit of Death. This is the highest level spell. At 4th level, it is a summoning spell. 1 action requires a 400 gold piece gilded playing card depicting the Avatar of Death. Concentration 1 minute, range of 60 feet. And it summons the Reaper Spirit. You can get into the details of how you command it and all that. AC is 11 plus the level of spell, so a minimum of 15. Hit points are 40 plus 10 for each spell level above 3rd, so it'd be 50 minimum, and you can get another 10 hit points when you upcast it. 30-foot fly speed, which is hover, immune to necrotic and poison, immune to a bunch of conditions. Got incorporeal movement. It's got haunting tracker, can sense the direction and distance of the haunted creature if it's on the same plane of existence. Gets multi-attack with a reaping scythe. It has paralyzing fear ability, 60 feet, wisdom saving throw. frightened of the Reaper for 1 minute. When frightened, their speed is 0 and can't benefit from bonuses to speed. Can repeat the saving throw at the end of the turns.
Yep. The idea is this stat block only appears in the DMG for the deck of many things. When you draw this card, now this thing hunts you. Now it has some other use where the player can summon it and have it attack.
And this is a lesser version compared to the one in the DMG as well.
Right.
It's fine. The Reaper Scythe is... The melee attack that it can make is a d10 plus 3 plus the spell's level. So a minimum of 1d10 plus 7. A flat 8 that it can make a number of attacks equal to half the spell's level. So a minimum of 2 is fine. The Paralyzing Fear is neat.
Either way,
it's flavorful.
If you have a character that is spooky, fine.
Thankfully, it doesn't consume the material component. Thank God. But it's another summoning spell. There's way too many.
I mean, If we want to jump forward just to summons, we'll come back to Spray of Cards. Summon Warrior Spirit. It falls in line with all the other summon spells from Tosh's, where
it's a 3rd level, so it's a little bit lesser on a lot of things.
It requires a gilded playing card to pick knight, at least worth 300 gold. Again, doesn't consume. And it allows you to summon either a barbarian, a fighter, or a monk, which their stats and abilities depend on which one you choose. Again, it just falls right in line with the other summon spells from Tosh's summons, all of those. Yeah. Nothing really too interesting about that one.
Basically, the difference of what class you choose it to be just changes the type of attack. The barbarian attack is going to be dealing more flat damage, and attacks. Basically, it's a reckless attack that you get minimum of once because it rounds down from 3rd level. Mm-hmm. So you would really want to upcast this to 4th level. The fighter, you can do it at range.
And it gives some temporary hit points when you hit.
And then the monk is less damage, but they have to make a save or be knocked prone, and then they get an additional bonus action to make a 3rd attack. Which, I think this is one of the more okay summoning spells, but at the same time, it's more complex for not a lot of benefit for the complexity.
I mean, again, it falls in line with the other ones in Tosh's. It gives you some options of you don't just take a summon spell where you summon either a pack of wolves or, one giant demon. Again, if your character is the kind that would summon a cool warrior spirit, cool. Otherwise, I have a wizard that uses summon undead spirit, or there's summon shadow spirit. All have just slightly different abilities.
And finally, we come to Spray of Cards, 2nd level spell, action, 15-foot cone. You get to choose one of 2 effects when you cast it. The blinding cards, each creature in the 15-foot cone make a wisdom save or be blinded until the end of their next turn. And then cutting cards, each creature within a 15-foot cone must make a dexterity saving throw, and they take 2d10 force damage, or half. And then when you upcast it, it increases by 1d10 damage for every 2 spell slot levels above 2nd. So you get no benefit for casting this at 3rd level, and you get no benefit for upcasting this if you want the blinded effect. Let's pull up another 2nd level spell. What is it? Burning Hands?
Sure.
Burning Hands is not a fantastic spell.
No.
It is also a 15-foot cone. They make a dexterity saving throw, and they get 3d6.
So
the max damage is a little less.
But the base damage is a little more.
Base damage is a little more.
What's the upcast on Burning Hands?
1d6 for each level above 1st. So and it's a 1st level spell. It's not even a 2nd level spell. So this is a worse Burning Hands in the damage department, because at 2nd level it would be getting 4d6, so a minimum of 4 instead of a minimum of 2, and a maximum of 24 instead of a maximum of 20. And blinded is nice. I think they should have just combined the effects.
I would agree there. It's we always want more customizability, more choices, more options, but you have to consider is that lower damage worth another option. Not even another effect, just another option.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably an argument that could be made. But as we sit now, I don't think so. I don't think I would. Again, would I lace my spell selection? Would I lace my spell slot? Probably not.
Of all 5 of the spells, the only one I would consider taking is Antagonize.
Yeah, again,
Like
either one of the summon spells would be very dependent on the character I was playing at the time. I would have no reason to ever take House of Cards.
Ever. That's just bad.
And yeah, Antagonize again would work. I would be better if it were a 2nd level, but as it is now, I don't hate it.
Yeah. Well, that is the entirety of the Wonders of the Multiverse UA. You can download it now on dnd.wizards.com. You can look through it yourself. You can try and implement it with some friends at a table if you want to play test it. They will likely be releasing a survey in the near future. If you do test it out or you want to give your thoughts on it, you can do that then when it comes out. Hopefully we will let you know. Hopefully remember to do that. With that, we're going to Gen Con.
We are going to Gen Con. We're leaving this Thursday.
If you're watching this the day it posts, that's tomorrow.
If you're watching this today as we're live, that's not tomorrow.
It is not tomorrow. It is in the coming days. Now, Gen Con is very exciting. Thursday through Sunday, we're going to be there all 4 days. We're going to a couple of TikTok events. We're going to be hitting the show floor a lot. We're going to be playing maybe one D&D game there. We really want to do a lot of the pre-release board game stuff.
That would be cool.
That's cool. If there's a way that we could try out D&D Onslaught,
I would do that.
I would do that. There's several workshops. We'll be out and about. There's one event that's basically drinking and food on, I think we're doing that on Friday night. So that'll be fun. That one was a bit expensive, but it does include drink tickets and food and games and prizes and all that kind of stuff. And we were like, it's just a big party.
Yeah.
So we'll do that.
It's a mini vacation.
If you are going, please come say hello to us. We will also be having a sale on DriveThruRPG. All of our stuff is pay what you want with the exception of the Blood Magic supplement. We are going to be discounting that down to, I believe, $2.99 instead of $4.99 as a celebration for Gen Con, and we will be starting that on the Thursday that Gen Con starts, and we will be doing that all the way through until the following Sunday, so 1 week and 3 days. Yep. So 10 days for the sale. We'll be putting that out on socials. We're going to be making a ton of content. We're going to have, if you follow us on TikTok, I apologize. We're going to be posting a lot more than we normally do during Gen Con. We're going to be posting a bunch of stories. We're going to be posting a bunch of videos. I'm going to be
Cell Signal.
Yeah.
Be damned.
Cell Signal be damned. We'll probably post more on the Instagram. We're going to be vlogging it for a YouTube video, which will be fun.
Hopefully recording an episode of the podcast, maybe with some friends we make there.
Yes,
maybe with some hostages we take there.
Yes. We do need to contact the Moon for hostage release forms. I did hear from the United States government that they wanted to get back some hostages that we've taken, and we need to get the moon needs to speed up their clerical thing. Her performance review is coming up soon. We'll bring all this up.
Yes,
but if you were at Gen Con, please come say hi. We don't know if we're going to record the entirety of the podcast while we're there. We might just record a segment, and then when we get back, do an intro and an outro. Do some news. Who knows? We'll figure it out as we go.
We're insane.
That's for sure. We're very, very excited. This is going to be so fun. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, podcast services around the globe: Apple, Google, Spotify. The
microwave oven.
I'm trying to find something other than the microwave oven. It's every single.
The sound of crickets.
The sound of crickets.
Yes, chirping in the night.
Wow. You can join our Discord. Link in the link tree in the bio. You can go to our DriveThruRPG to download our free nature pack that is going to be coming up. Pay what you want. That one is fun. A lot more beefy than our normal ones. We also have a bunch of other months that we have free homebrew available to us as well. And we will end this as we oft like to do with some questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and or ideas from the TikTok Live as well as the Discord. forgot to post this in the Discord that we were recording this today, so no podcast questions from the Discord today. If you want to ask us a question and guarantee pretty much that it's going to be read on the show, you should join our Discord server and put that question in the podcast questions channel in the Discord server. Samuel, do you have anything from the TikTok Live?
I have TikTok Live, yes. First, Ara Z-Man asks, does the world rotate clockwise or counterclockwise?
Fuck.
I don't know, and I don't care.
Hold on. No. Okay. So if you go from the east coast of the United States to the west coast of the United States, you are going back an hour 3 times. Mm-hmm. So that means the sun is traveling from east to west across the sky, which means we must be rotating from west to east, which if you look from the top view would be clockwise. If you look from the bottom view, that would be counterclockwise. So from the perspective of the North Pole, the Earth is rotating, of the rotational North Pole, because there's the magnetic North Pole as well. If you're from the rotational North Pole, it is clockwise.
And if you believe the Earth is flat,
you're right.
All right, and next, Hannah,
you just fall off the edge.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
That's
why
you're
gone.
Yeah, that's why there's the ice wall there.
Hannah Soko says, so yesterday during my session, I almost got us killed twice.
Nice.
Hannah,
good job.
We're proud of you.
You've been gone for a week and we're still of the same brain cell.
You know, it was vacation. You don't do much thinking on vacation.
That is true.
So I guess you kind of had the whole brain cell for the week.
No, the cat did.
Damn it, Jester. Stop.
She stole it from me.
She's sleeping now. She expended all the energy of having one brain cell.
She could have slept right here in the cat bed, in the dice tray, in the cat bed, on the table in front of the camera, but she chose not to.
Instead, she sleeps where I was sitting earlier.
Indeed. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
That's all we've got for the podcast today. A bit more of a svelte news podcast, a bit more of a svelte Q&A portion of the podcast, but I'm okay with that. I think we had a great discussion. Again, follow us on all the socials. We went through that like 5 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And
rate us on those podcast services.
A rating and a description with a review will help us on those podcast services around the globe. That's how they figure out what to suggest to people on those services, particularly Apple, Google, and Spotify.
If you do rate us and leave a review, and you're going to Gen Con, come tell us that you rated.
Show us the review, and Sam will tongue kiss you in the ear. Right in the ear hole.
This has been a promise made by the Dungeon Bros.
Just lapping it up. Just all of it.
Thank God our word is not our honor.
Oh boy. We have no honor among the thieves of this house.
No hat. Honor H among thieves. T.
I know.
D&D hat. Well, in the meantime, peace